The windmill stopped on a Tuesday in the second week of July. Not dramatically, it didn't fall or crack or announce itself in any way that would have been useful. It simply stopped turning, the way things stop when the mechanism that has been holding them together finally gives up the last of its willingness. And I came out in the morning and the tank was low, and by the afternoon it was lower, and by the following morning I had a stock tank with 8 inches of water in it and 14 head of cattle, and a July that was doing what Oklahoma Julys do, which is everything. July in Garfield County in 1935 was not a month you wanted to be without water. The drought had been holding the county for 3 years and had the specific quality by now of a thing that has stopped being an emergency and become a condition. Not because it was less serious, but because the human capacity for treating something as an emergency has limits, and after 3 years, the mind begins to reclassify. It was hot. It was dry. The creek that ran through the southeast corner of my property had been running low since May, and by July was a series of isolated pools that the cattle had found and were working down. The windmill was the primary water source for the north pasture and the house, and without it, I had 2 weeks before the situation became something I couldn't manage. I knew what was wrong with the mill. The sucker rod had cracked at the lower joint, a failure mode I had seen before, a repair that required a new rod section and the right fittings, neither of which I had on hand, and both of which would come on the freight run from Enid, which came through Garber on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of the month, and which had come through the previous Thursday and would not come again until the 4th Thursday, which was 11 days away. 11 days, 14 cattle, and 8 inches of water in the tank, and 11 days. The options were haul water from town, which was 8 miles, and which I had no hauling equipment suited for, or find another source, which meant the creek pools, which the cattle were already using and which were not going to last 11 days, or ask for help. I was not a man who asked for help easily. I had been not asking for help since 1929, when my father died, and the farm became mine, and the asking for help would have meant acknowledging that I was not managing, which I was managing, barely, and which I intended to continue managing, barely, for as long as the barely held. This is not a virtue I am defending. It is a condition I am describing. The two are different things. My new neighbor to the north had been on the property since April. I had been aware of her since April, in the way you are aware of everything that changes in the geography you know completely. New truck in the lane, new smoke from the chimney, new activity in the north field where the previous owner had let the pasture go to brush, and this new owner was apparently reclaiming it. I had not gone to introduce myself in April because April was planting and I didn't have time. I had not gone in May because the fence line needed work and I didn't have time. In June, she had come to my fence and introduced herself, which she had done with the directness of a woman who had decided that the neighbor introduction was necessary and was going to do it herself since the neighbor appeared to be waiting for a reason not to. Lily Crane, that was her name. She shook my hand at the fence line and looked at me with blue eyes that were direct and curious, and she said she had bought the property in the spring and was learning it, and if there was anything she should know about the county or the land, she'd be grateful for whatever I could tell her. I told her about the creek's behavior in dry years, and which sections of the county road flooded in spring, and that the Garber Co-op had the best prices on seed if she was planning to plant the south section. She thanked me and said she appreciated it, and drove her truck back up her lane, and I went back to my fence work, and thought that she was either going to manage the property or she wasn't, and that it wasn't my business which one happened. When the windmill stopped, she was the obvious solution, and I knew it, and I spent Tuesday and Wednesday hauling water from the creek in whatever containers I could find, which was inadequate, and on Thursday morning she came to my fence line. "Your windmill stopped," she said. "I noticed yesterday." "Yes," I said. "My windmill is running," she said. "You could run a line from my tank to yours. It's a 1/4 mile. I have the pipe." "I appreciate that," I said. "I've got parts coming on the freight. 2 weeks." She looked at the stock tank, which from where she stood at my fence, she could see clearly enough to assess. "That tank is going to be empty in 5 days," she said. "I know that," I said. "2 weeks is too long," she said. "I know that too," I said. She looked at me with the blue eyes. "Cal," she said, "I have a running windmill and a 1/4 mile of pipe, and I'm not using the water you need." "I appreciate that," I said again. "That's the second time you've said you appreciate it," she said, without taking it. "I manage my property," I said. She looked at me for a long moment. The July morning was doing its thing around us, the heat already building, the sky the flat white blue of a drought year July, the cattle visible in the distance moving toward the low tank. Then she said, "All right," and walked back to her truck and drove north up her lane. I hauled water from the creek on Thursday. I hauled it Friday. By Saturday, the creek pools were visibly lower, and the cattle were spending more time at the tank and less time grazing, which is what cattle do when they are beginning to feel the water situation. And I was in the south field repairing the irrigation header when I heard a truck on the property line. I finished the header repair. I came back to the north pasture at 4 in the afternoon. There was a water line running from the direction of the Crane property to my stock tank. 3/4-inch galvanized pipe laid in the grass along the fence line, connected at my end to the tank inlet with a proper fitting. The tank had 6 inches more water in it than it had had in the morning. I stood at the tank and looked at the pipe for a while. I looked north toward the Crane property. I looked at the cattle, which had found the tank and were drinking with the specific urgency of animals who have been managing a shortage. I got in the truck and drove north. Her place had the look of a property being actively reclaimed. The brush cleared from the south pasture, but not yet reseeded. The fence lines tightened in some sections and still showing old wire in others. The barn recently repaired on the east side, where the boards were new and pale against the weathered gray. There were tools visible near the barn door, organized rather than scattered, the arrangement of someone who uses tools and puts them back correctly. A kitchen garden along the south wall of the house, recently watered. She was at the windmill when I pulled in, up on the platform 12 feet off the ground, doing something at the gearbox with a wrench. She heard the truck and looked down. "Cal Alderson," she said. She did not come down. "Lily Crane," I said. I stood at the base of the windmill looking up at her. "You ran a line to my tank." "I did," she said. She went back to the gearbox. "I told you I was managing," I said. "You told me twice," she said, working. "Your cattle are drinking right now. That's what managing looks like." "I didn't ask you to do that," I said. "No," she said, "you didn't." She made an adjustment with the wrench. "If you had asked me, I would have told you to ask earlier. But you didn't ask, so I didn't wait." I stood at the base of the windmill with my hat in my hand. "You should have asked me first," I said. "I did ask you," she said. "Thursday morning. You said you appreciated it." She came down the platform ladder with the wrench in one hand, quick and easy, the way she moved when she was comfortable with the thing. She was wearing the yellow work shirt and the canvas trousers, and her blonde hair was up under a bandana, and there was machine grease on her left forearm from the gearbox work. She looked at me when she reached the ground. "The pipe is 3/4-inch galvanized. The fitting at your end is a standard tank inlet. When your parts come in and your windmill is running, I'll take it back." She put the wrench in the tool roll hanging from the windmill post. "Until then, your cattle have water." I looked at her. She looked at me. "Why?" I said. She looked at the wrench in the tool roll. "Because 14 cattle and a failing tank in July is not a situation I was going to watch happen to the farm next door when I had the means to prevent it," she said. "And because you weren't going to ask, which I understood, and because I decided that your not asking didn't mean I had to not help." "You don't know why I wasn't asking," I said. "I have a reasonable guess," she said. She looked at me with the blue eyes in the July afternoon. "You've been managing alone for a long time. Asking feels like not managing. But your cattle, I know about my cattle, I said. I know you know, she said. I'm just saying why I did it. I looked at the windmill above us, the blades turning in the thin July wind, the water it was moving through the pipe to my property. I looked at the grease on her forearm, and the bandana, and the work clothes, and the tool roll, and the reclaimed south pasture, and the organized tools at the barn door. How long have you been on this property? I said. Since April, she said. 3 months and some. You ran a water line, I said. 3/4 inch galvanized, she said. It took about 2 hours. I've run water lines before. On what farm? I said. My grandfather's place, she said. Outside Stillwater. I spent every summer there until I was 18. She paused. He said you can learn everything a farm needs to teach you if you pay attention. I paid attention. I looked at her. At this woman who was 27 years old and had bought a 140-acre property in April and had been reclaiming it and learning it, and had come to my fence in June to introduce herself, and had run a water line to my tank on a Saturday afternoon in July without asking my permission, because she had decided my not asking didn't mean she had to not help. Come to supper, I said. It arrived before I decided to say it, the way things do when you have been alone long enough that the deciding mechanism gets less reliable. She looked at me. Something in her expression shifted, not surprise, something more considered. Cal, she said. I have food, I said. It's not elaborate, but I have it and I'm going to eat it, and if you come, it's less wasteful. The corner of her mouth did something. Less wasteful, she said. That's the reason, I said. She looked at me for a long moment. The July afternoon was going toward evening now, the light changing angle, the heat still present, but not the noon heat. The windmill turned above us. Somewhere in my north pasture, the cattle were at the tank. What time? She said. 6, I said. I'll be there at 6, she said. She was there at 5:50. I noted this. The kitchen was the kitchen of a man who had been cooking for 3 years, which is to say, functional and nothing more. 1 pan used and washed, 1 plate, 1 cup, the specific minimalism of a person who has stopped performing domesticity for anyone. I had made beans and cornbread, and there was coffee. She sat at the kitchen table and ate the beans with the focused attention of a woman who has been doing physical work all day and is hungry. And she drank the coffee black, and she looked at the kitchen with the blue eyes without commenting on its state. You're not going to say anything about the kitchen, I said. It's your kitchen, she said. Most women say something about the kitchen, I said. I'm not most women, she said. She said it as a fact rather than a position. Also, my kitchen currently has 2 boxes and a camp stove in it because I haven't finished unpacking the kitchen things. I'm not in a position to comment on anyone's kitchen. I looked at her. You've been here 3 months, I said. I've been busy, she said. With the south pasture, I said. And the barn roof, she said. And the fence lines, and the windmill. She drank her coffee. And the water line I apparently ran today. Apparently, I said. She looked at me across the table, the blue eyes in the kitchen lamplight. Cal, she said. Yes, I said. Why did you really come to my place tonight? She said. You could have left the water line until the freight comes and your windmill is running, and then you could have come to return the pipe and say thank you, and that would have been the end of it. I looked at the beans. Yes, I said, I could have done that. But you drove over at 4:30, she said, with your hat in your hand. I went to tell you to take the line back, I said. And? She said. And I didn't tell you to take it back, I said. She was quiet for a moment. Why not? She said.
I thought about the honest answer.
The honest answer was that I had stood at the base of her windmill looking up at a woman with grease on her forearm who had spent 2 hours running a water line to my property without waiting to be asked, and that the specific quality of that, the not waiting, the not making it a gesture, the just doing it, had produced in me a reaction I had not been prepared for, which was something like recognition. The recognition of a quality I had not encountered in some time and had not known I was missing until I found it. "Because you were right about the cattle," I said. She looked at me. "That's the part of it," she said. "Yes," I said. "What's the rest of it?" she said. I looked at her across the kitchen table, at the blonde hair coming loose from the bandana she had taken off when she sat down, falling across her forehead the way it apparently always did, at the grease still on her left forearm that she had not gotten around to cleaning off, at the blue eyes that were curious and direct and waiting for the rest of it without pressing. "I've been alone on this farm since 29, I said. "I've gotten very good at it." "I can see that," she said. "I've gotten so good at it," I said, "that I stopped noticing when it was a choice and when it was just what was happening." She was quiet. "You ran a water line to my tank," I said, "without asking, without making it a thing. You just did it because the cattle needed water and you had the means and you decided my not asking wasn't sufficient reason to not help." I looked at the table. I haven't had anyone do something like that in a long time. Just do the right thing because it needed doing. She looked at me for a long moment. "Cal Alderson," she said. "Yes," I said. "You drove over at 4:30 to tell me to take back a water line," she said. "And instead you invited me to supper." "Yes," I said. "And now you're telling me you've been alone since 29, she said. "Yes," I said. She looked at her coffee cup. "I came to this property in April," she said. "I left Oklahoma City because the life I had been building there stopped making sense. The job and she paused. "The other things. They stopped making sense, and I had my grandmother's money and her advice, and I bought land." She looked at the window. "I have been learning this farm since April, and it is the first thing in 2 years that has made sense every single day, even the hard days." She looked at me. "That is not nothing." "No," I said, "it isn't. And I have been very alone on it," she said, "which I chose, which I don't regret, but which is what it is." I looked at her across the table, at the farm she had bought in April and the south pasture she had reclaimed and the water line she had run and the grease on her forearm and the blonde hair falling across her forehead. "Lily," I said. "Yes," she said. "Come back tomorrow," I said, "for supper." She looked at me for a long moment. The July evening was fully arrived now, the heat easing, the Oklahoma dark coming down around the farmhouse, the windmill visible through the kitchen window turning in the evening wind. "All right," she said. She came back the following evening, and the one after that. By the second week she was coming every other evening, which became every evening by August, which was how August happened. The two of us at the kitchen table after the day's work, talking about the farms and the drought in the county and the things that people talk about when they have found someone to talk to and are not going to waste the finding. She taught me things about the Crane property that she had figured out in her first 3 months, which were sometimes things I had not thought to tell her, and sometimes things she had discovered on her own that surprised me. She had a quality of observation, the blue eyes that were curious about everything, that meant she noticed things about the land that you would normally only notice after years on it. I told her about my father, and the farm, and the drought years, and what 3 consecutive failures do to a man's relationship with the land he is responsible for. She listened, the way she did everything, which was completely and without performing the listening. The freight came on the 4th Thursday of July. The parts arrived. I spent Friday installing the new sucker rod section with the proper fittings, and Saturday morning I primed the pump and the windmill started and the water came up into the tank and the North pasture cattle found it and drank with the specific enthusiasm of animals who have been managing a shortage and have stopped managing. I went to the Crane property that afternoon. She was in the garden when I pulled in, and she stood up from the row she was working and looked at the truck and then at me. "Windmill running?" she said. "Since this morning," I said. "Good," she said. "I'll take the pipe back today," I said. "If you want to show me where it needs to go." She pulled off her garden gloves. "I'll help you pull it," she said. We pulled the pipe together, section by section, from my tank back along the fence line to her property, which took an hour. When the last section was coiled and stacked at her windmill, she looked at it and then at me. "Well," she said. "Well," I said. "Your windmill is running," she said. "My pipe is back. The arrangement is concluded." "The arrangement is concluded," I said. She looked at the pipe coil, at me, the slight smile. "Does that mean you're not coming to supper tonight?" she said. "No," I said. "I'm coming to supper." "At 6?" she said. "At 6, I said. She put her garden gloves in her back pocket and walked back toward the garden. "There's something I've been meaning to ask you," she said without looking back. "All right," I said. "The north section of your property," she said. "The one that runs along my west fence. You've got it in grass right now." 3 years, I said. "The wheat kept failing in that section." "The drainage is wrong," she said. "The water pools in the low spot after rain instead of running off. If you corrected the drainage, you could probably get wheat in there." I looked at her. "How did you know about the drainage?" I said. "I walked that section in June," she said. "When I was looking at my fence line. The soil patterns showed it." She looked at the ground. "I've been thinking about it since then." "You walked my property in June?" I said. "The fence line," she said. "It's your fence, it's my fence, both at the same time. I was entitled to look at my side of it." I looked at her. She was already crouching back down to the garden row. The July afternoon light on the blonde hair, the blue eyes on the plants. "Lily," I said. "I know," she said. "Supper at 6. She said it with the slight smile, the one that arrived for real reasons. I drove back down the lane toward my property and looked in the rearview mirror at the Crane place, the reclaimed south pasture, the repaired barn, the windmill turning, and thought about a woman who had walked my property line in June and had been thinking about my drainage since then, and had run a water line on a Saturday afternoon without asking because she had decided my not asking didn't mean she had to not help. I had been alone on this farm since 1929. The fourth Thursday freight run had brought my windmill parts. The arrangement with the water line was concluded. There was no practical reason anymore for the nightly supper at 6. I came at 6 on Sunday. She had made something more than beans and cornbread, a real meal, from the garden she was tending and the stores she had been putting by since April. She set it on the table and sat across from me, and the kitchen lamp was between us, and the Oklahoma evening was outside the window. "The arrangement is concluded," she said. "Yes," I said. "But you came," she said. "I came," I said. She looked at me across the table, the blue eyes in the lamplight, the blonde hair loose now, the bandana gone, the way she looked when she was done working for the day and had stopped being careful about things. "Cal," she said. "Lily," I said. "Say something," she said. "I've been thinking about the drainage on the north section," I said. She looked at me for a moment. Then she laughed, the real kind, the kind that arrives before the person decides to allow it. I had not heard that in my kitchen in longer than I could easily calculate. "The drainage," she said. "The north section," I said. "You were right about the pooling. I've been looking at it. I think if I cut a swale along the west edge, it would move the water toward the creek drainage, and the soil would dry out enough to support wheat." "It would," she said. "I've been thinking about how you'd do it. You'd need to..."
She stopped, looked at me. "You knew about the drainage," she said. "I've known about it for 3 years," I said. "Then why?" "Because you walked my fence line in June and figured it out in 3 months and have been thinking about it since," I said. "And I wanted to hear what you'd do." She looked at me across the kitchen table in the Oklahoma evening, the lamp between us, the meal on the table, the windmill outside turning in the warm night wind, the water moving through the pipe to the tank where the cattle were drinking. "Cal Alderson," she said. "Yes," I said. "You are the most indirect man I have ever met," she said. "I'm a farmer," I said. "I work around things." "You work around things," she said. "Yes," I said. "Lily," I said. "Yes," she said. "Stay," I said. "Not tonight, I mean—" I stopped. The words had arrived before I'd organized them, which was becoming a pattern since April when she had driven up the lane for the first time. "I mean, I would like for there to keep being supper at 6, not as an arrangement, as a thing we do because we want to." She looked at me for a long time. The lamplight and the evening around us and the supper between us and the Oklahoma night outside. "The drainage on the north section," she said. "The swale along the west edge. That's a 2-person job if you do it right." "It is," I said. "I have a Fresno scraper," she said. "My grandfather's. It's in the barn." "I know what a Fresno scraper is," I said. "I know you know," she said, the slight smile, the real one. "I'm saying I have one and you need one and it's a 2-person job." "Yes," I said. "So," she said. "So," I said. The Oklahoma evening held us both. The windmill turned. The cattle were at the tank. The supper was on the table, and neither of us had eaten any of it yet because neither of us had been thinking about the supper. "Come for breakfast," she said. "Tomorrow, 6 o'clock, and we'll start on the drainage." 6 o'clock, I said. "Bring your team," she said. "I'll bring the scraper." I looked at her across the table. At this woman who had arrived in April and reclaimed a pasture and repaired a barn, and run a water line on a Saturday afternoon, and walked my fence line in June, and thought about my drainage since then. At the blonde hair and the blue eyes and the real smile, and the grease she still had not entirely gotten off her left forearm. "Lily," I said. "You say my name like it's a whole sentence," she said. "It is," I said. She looked at me. Something in her face settled, the specific quality of something arriving that has been in motion for some time.
6 o'clock, she said. "Don't be late."
"I'm never late," I said. "I know," she said. "That's why I said it." We ate the supper. We talked about the drainage plan and the swale angle, and what the north section could produce in a good year with correct water management, which was a real conversation and also not the only conversation we were having. She drove home at 9. I watched the truck go up the lane and the taillights disappear at the road, and I stood on the porch in the Oklahoma night and thought about 6 o'clock tomorrow, and a Fresno scraper, and a 2-person job, and a woman who had decided my not asking didn't mean she had to not help. I had been alone on this farm since 29. I went inside and washed the supper dishes and set the alarm for 5:15. In the morning, I was going to start on the drainage.